Hi, my name is Keith Glover. I'm here broadcasting from the Morgan Morning Memo Show, where we're here with the healthy options for preventing epidemic succession. As you know, HIV and AIDS is on the rise. It's creating a public health time bomb in numerous countries. 10 million young people are currently living with HIV, and over half of the 4.9 people newly infected worldwide each year are between the ages of 15 and 24. According to WHO, over 16 million have died since the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. At a present, more than 34 million people are infected with HIV, that virus that causes AIDS. Many AIDS sufferers contract the disease through promiscuous sexual activity, contaminated syringes, using by drug addicts, or tainted blood transfusions. AIDS has now become the most devastating pandemic in human history. What's being done? Today, we will be discussing what NBRHI has done and where the help to continue is going to come from and where the help is currently coming from. Right now, I'm going to introduce some wonderful folks to you. They're going to get a chance to share their stories with you. I have sitting with me will be the lovely Robin Quinn, Mr. Otis Williams, and Mrs. Bethella Quick. Mr. Williams, can you please share some stories with me about the loved ones that you have shared and have suffered through this tragedy?
Well, the first two to come to my mind are my two brothers that died of AIDS. My first brother, AIDS had just hit. He had contracted it, intravenous drug usage, and he ran all over West Hill trying to find a cure. I never will forget, he went from here to Florida before coming back to Chicago, where he died. And left two kids. Now, his wife was not infected. The kids were not infected. Strange, but thank God they weren't infected. My youngest brother contracted it, again, through intravenous drug usage, and died about almost 5 years later, almost to the day that I lost the other brother. During that time, I was operating the program New Beginnings. And I probably shouldn't introduce myself. I'm the CEO of New Beginnings. But during that time, we worked with a lot of persons that were HIV. During that early time when people came into our recovery homes at that time, our transitional housing program, and they were infected, they weren't telling anybody anything. When they got there, they came in, you did not know that they were infected. They didn't tell you. They were scared to death to tell you, because at that time they felt it was a death sentence. They didn't know how it was being transmitted or anything else. So I never will forget, there was one guy that came in, and he just had crawled up into a corner and was sitting and he was crying his heart out. Man, what's wrong with you? I can't tell you. He cried. I said, look, it can't be that bad. He said, it is that bad. I said, what is it, you got AIDS? He said, he hesitated. I said, man, come here. I said, let me give you a hug, man. And I hugged him. I didn't know whether I'd catch it or I didn't. But in the space of that moment, that person needed some love, some affection, some feeling, that somebody cared for him because he couldn't go home to his family, he couldn't tell his family, and nothing else. So over the years, what we did, and we told the people at New Beginnings, that anybody and everybody who came into New Beginnings was infected, so that everybody would treat everybody as though they were infected. We didn't want anyone to be worried about whether or not a person was infected. And in that way, we didn't have to worry about what was being disclosed, what was not being disclosed. And it took me a while, after losing two brothers, to come back, to embrace other brothers who were infected. Now today, we have a program of, I think we have about 20 persons, 22, 23 persons that are currently that living in our residence now. So we're doing our job.
Well, Otis, that's a great story, and to see you have triumphed and have you really developed this thing, I can see your passion for it. So now you're providing some services, for individuals, men and women, who are suffering from the human immunodeficiency virus. And those of us, those who have full-blown illnesses of the acquired immune syndrome. Am I correct?
Very much so.
Okay, let me ask you, what are the services that you're currently providing to the general population?
Same services. We provide housing, transitional housing. I want to say transportation, bus passes, food, clothing. We have 2 doctors on site. We have a regular physician. We have a psychiatrist. We take in a population that is mentally ill, mentally challenged, and we're finding many of those are, some of those, not many, some of those are HIV positive. So they are receiving psych medication, receiving psych services, as well as medical services, as well as help at the core center for their HIV. So we cover the whole gamut. We talk about a holistic approach. That's what we do.
So one of the things I noticed that the drugs and the HIV sort of roll hand in hand. What type of drug treatment programs are you offering in conjunction with us?
What we do is we work with the Corrections Initiative, okay? And as our program is funded by the Illinois Department of Public Health, and we use, in partnership with Haymarket House, they have a particular section for persons who are HIV. They take them into a 28-day program. So it's just a matter of pick up a phone call. They'll take our people in and put them through that process, with or without a medical card.
So currently, how many centers that you know of that are currently doing the transition in what you are doing in the Chicagoland area?
None to the degree that we do it, or how we do it.
Okay, none to the degree. And that's wonderful that you've seen a need in the community and you stood up and filled the void, and that's a wonderful gesture. Mrs. Quinn, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing
Thanks
wonderful.
for asking.
So I want to ask you some things, how this maybe affect you and your family or anything like that.
Well, my name is Robin Quinn, and I'm the executive director of the Ford Heights Hope Center. And Otis and I, our services are similar. After meeting with Otis, I was surprised that someone was doing some of the same things that we were doing in our little town. Our area, Ford Heights, is about 45 miles south of Chicago. It's a town that was probably built around 1949, and I was raised there in that little town. And when I started hearing about some of the ill things that was happening, as far as unemployment and sexual abuse, drug abuse, ex-offenders, HIV, and to take a small town like ours, and the numbers were extraordinary. So we have a total of approximately 3,200 people in this community, and I would say a third is affected with the AIDS virus, and that's a large number for a community like that. So some of the supportive services that we have at Fort Heights is to address some of the underlying problems, why a person is unemployed, why a person is have drug abuse problems or ex-offenders, and we looked at the, like Otis said, the holistic approach. You know, what can we do, or who's going to help a person going through some of these problems, and how can we get through the process? And it's a process. You know, like Otis said, without a medical card, without a state ID, and these are homeless people, so they're not walking around with the birth certificate in their pocket. And so coming into the Hope Center, and what we often say is hope is just a call away. And we're going to make those calls. We're going to call Otis, we're going to call our friends, we'll call everyone who's on this, I would say, bandwagon to offset some of the ill problems in our community, and work collectively together to get some services, supportive services in our community.
So I noticed as you were speaking, a lot of times we in the communities, we get a chance to look at the fruit, and we think it's the behavior, different type of things like that. But I've noticed as you and Otis speak, you talk about the holistic approach. That means you're dealing with the root.
Yes.
Exactly.
And a person who knows how to deal with the root will be no other than this young lady right here, Ms. Berthella Quick.
Thank you. My name is Berthella Quick. I'm a registered nurse with a master's in public health. I am the founder and president of BQ Under Apparel and inventor of Pugsy. Pugsy is Pugsy is pocketed undergarment for condoms. And so what I did is found a need in the community for a change in behavior. Initially, I was on a crusade to decrease the incidence of teenage pregnancies, because there was such a high incidence of teenage pregnancies and low birth weight. In the early 80s, that shifted from the teenage pregnancies and low birth weight to the AIDS, HIV epidemic. At that time, it was not an epidemic. Back in 1981, 82, when I started researching this HIV/AIDS virus, it was brought to my attention in my research that this virus was in fact created in a laboratory and that there was a conspiracy. And so I wanted to go into the public and let them know about this conspiracy and what needed to be done to divert it from us, all of us, human beings. And so I thought it would be good from a biopsychosocial standpoint to just change the behavior. I went out into the community and I spoke to adolescents in particular who were sexually active. And I would have impromptu plays so that they could illustrate how to offer a condom. And what I found is that people were very ambivalent and afraid to offer condoms or even to mention condoms. Again, this is early 80s. And so I thought one night, what can I do other than run my mouth, go and talk to these people? What can I do to change the behavior? And I came up with an idea that the last thing you take off is your underwear. And so if you have a condom in your underwear, then it's going to introduce itself, because when you are having foreplay, you're going to feel around. I'm not going to touch Mr. You're going to feel around, and then you're going to say, hey, what's that? It's a condom, and it's for you. And so I created this underwear, and this is it.
One size fit all?
Well, actually, no. I've got any kind of underwear that Victoria's Secret or Calvin Klein has ever put out. I went to Hong Kong and I went to Korea and I set up offshore manufacturing. And so I had probably, I would say, over 500 dozen created and then brought here. They range from thongs all the way up to bloomers.
Did you have any investors when you did that?
I did not.
Okay, you did not.
What I did, I am a registered nurse, as I said before, and most RNs are workaholics. And so I worked 2 jobs for 5 years to save enough money to do this, because this was my passion. So I worked night shift as a psych administrator at Old Orchard Hospital. And during the day, I ran different community health centers, including the Near North Health Clinic and CoMed Health Clinic. And after a period of time, I had enough money, I thought, to go after my desire, which was to prevent the dreaded disease AIDS in our community as an epidemic. And so once I got to Hong Kong, Korea, even though I don't speak Cantonese, I was able to communicate and show my product. I had a patent. I have a patent on this product. And so what I did, I created the pocket with a piece of Velcro to keep it closed. And so you can take this condom and put it inside the pocket and close it. And it's comfortable and it's convenient. When I came back and started to speak in the community again, I could give these to those who came to hear me speak. I had college students sell them on college campus, and it went very well. Several stores on the south side of Chicago, north side and west side of Chicago did sell this product, but their orders were very small. And so after about 7 years, unfortunately, I had to discontinue with selling Pugsy. I still have over 300 dozen. But I did stop selling them and went on to other health-related issues. I had a trunk show at Nordstrom's just to talk about a little bit about mainstream, getting it out mainstream. Nordstrom's department store ran a full-page ad, which is extremely expensive, talking about Pugsy. It was a picture of the underwear, and it was like in the Sunday paper, so I know they spent a lot of money. And it was when you open up the paper itself, that whole page was talking about the trunk show at Nordstrom's. So my niece and I went to Nordstrom's. We set up a booth in the underwear department. We sold 500 pair of underwear in an hour and 45 minutes. We were so excited. We just knew Nordstrom's was going to allow us to put our product on their shelves. Why? Because they're stylish. They cost exactly what other underwear costs that don't have a pocket. That way the public has a choice. You can buy nice underwear with a pocket. You can buy nice underwear without a pocket. But because of the pocket and the condom, it was too controversial. And so they did not allow us the shelf space. And so the general public was never able to just go and buy the product.
Now, through my times in business, usually when a product is hot, it seems as companies would buy into
Reverse
that.
it, yeah.
And that seems to be strange. You say you sold all these underwears within an hour, and it seems to be a win-win for the community and for the store, because when you see a store that's taking a stance on health issues, it's wonderful. So how did that make you feel about that?
Well, I cried, and I did not give up. The buyer from Nordstrom had taken the idea to the board of directors because we sold them so fast, and this would have been a big come up for her. And so she and I just sat and cried about the whole matter. And I think it was because this predated itself. It's like it was before its time. We're talking about early 90s.
One thing I noticed, you guys did get the seed planted, and maybe through this venture, it'll recreate itself.
Yeah.
Otis, one of the things I wanted to ask you was that the listening viewer audience here, today they'd like to know a little bit more about your efforts and what are you doing to stop the spread of the infections of HIV and AIDS, and actually what's being done presently here at New Beginning, and just to help some of those suffering individuals that are going through that. We're going to have some questions from the audience and see if you would like to answer some of those questions. Sure.
How do you want to do it? Do you want me to answer that question, or you want to go to the audience? You want me to answer the first question? Okay. What are we doing today in terms of fighting the epidemic? Right. Okay. One of the things is that I have two able-bodied persons here. I have Gigi Wright and I have Arnold Nemox. These two persons that we have on our staff, and they work very closely with those who are infected with the AIDS virus. We provide a lot of services for persons, social, supportive, and case management services. And this is funded by a grant that we received from the Illinois Department of Public Health. And among those, in Chicago here, we participate with the Corrections Initiative as well. This is for ex-offenders coming out of the penitentiary who are HIV. I'm one of the few persons that receive persons who are HIV sex offenders or HIV. I get calls from the penitentiary on a very regular basis to take those brothers in. Now, you notice I mentioned brothers a lot is because New Beginning basically is a male program, although, and I gave this to my sister to handle the women, so we do have females in our program, and we do have female persons who are HIV as well, okay? So I don't want to short shrift the ladies, okay? All right, it's just that so many more males. New Beginnings over the years been identified as predominantly a male program, okay? So we send literature out. We fax literature to the hospitals, to nursing homes. We let everybody know that we're not afraid to take persons in who are HIV. We take in transgenders. That's not an issue. A lot of programs will not take transgender. We do take transgenders. into our program. So we truly do not discriminate based on a person's sexual orientation. We try to cover all the bases. If a person is addicted, we get them hooked up with in a program at Haymarket. If they have a psych problem, we tie them into a psychiatrist. If they have a medical condition, we take them to the medical center and places like that.
So what it looks like is that you've actually become the network ministry of the community. Any illness that a person is dealing with, from drugs to psychological, to just need a hug.
Hey, we give it. We do it. And we do it.
I know they say that a community is being built on top of each other's shoulders. And I can imagine whose shoulders you had to step on to have an endeavor this big and to continue to do it. I can realize the support and the things that you ran against to do this. And it's just wonderful when you can just outstretch your hands and reach and hug a whole community. And I've seen you do that. And when you come here, no one is turned away, no one is shunned away. You don't know anyone's status. You don't know anything about anyone. The only thing you know is you see a spirit of love around here. And that's a wonderful thing.
One of the other things, too, that I did not mention is our behavioral group therapy. On a daily basis, our persons are brought from the transitional housing program, brought here where they undergo psychiatric group therapy. We have a physician and a group facilitator, and for 1 hour they're in that group session, and we do it on a 5-day-a-week basis. At the same time, a psychiatrist is on Tuesday, Thursday, we have a doctor over here, and on Wednesday we have another, psychiatrist, and we have a doctor. And based on their needs assessment that we do when they first come in, we try to address those kinds of things. You'd be amazed how many people come in here that are diabetic and they didn't know they were diabetic.
Well, yeah, it seems like, as I hear you say, because one of the things we deal with is behavior modification.
Yes.
Yes.
Because we know that sometimes, even as I heard Ms. Quick talk about, you can take the person out of the situation, but if you don't change their thinking, eventually they're going to go back to the thinking or the action. As we stated, you know, we see the fruit of the community, we see the destruction, and we see the behavior. So now we have to go back to the root of this.
We see people, we've had people in here for almost a year. You should see some of the progress that we have made with people that you would have threw the towel in on and said, this is not going to work.
Well, Otis, I would like to thank you. You're doing a wonderful job here. And right now, Otis, as I said, we're going to ask the audience a few questions, and we'll love for you to answer them and see how this may turn out. Audience?
My name's Robert Edwards. I'm the accountant for New Beginnings.
Okay.
I just want you to clarify this this situation that I was told. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's dealing with a person who's HIV positive. It was communicated to me that if a person's HIV positive and they're getting ready to have sex with a person that's not HIV positive, and they don't tell that person that they're infected and have sex with that person, and that person indeed becomes infected by the person who's infected, that's attempted murder. Is that true?
That is true.
That is true.
In fact, when persons go to the core center and they undergo the group sessions and they talk about these things, the legality, just like they given a spiel on confidentiality, they're given a spiel on what happens if they don't tell the person that they are HIV prior to having sex. They can be charged with attempted murder.
And that's the key. You say they can be charged because I know it's a Class 4 felony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you say can be charged, that's if a person is doing it recklessly.
Yes.
You know, we've had a couple of cases where interviews are on the radio, they were doing it recklessly, intentionally giving it to someone. And so we want to be very careful with that. They can be charged with it, but other than that, it's considered a Class 4 felony.
Okay. I can understand. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Next question.
Mr. Williams and Ms. Quinn, what are some of the, I know, you receive little stipends or funding from the state, but it's not enough. So what are some of the things that you can ask the people for now?
All right. What we're doing is writing grants, seeking funds from the state. Now, in all fairness, the Illinois Department of Public Health has looked upon us favorably. Over the years, I was the new kid on the block, and we didn't get any money or anything. This is the first year that we have gotten, we received $150,000 in grant funds this year. The first time, blew me out the water. They called me and said, we want to give you some money, and I said, you got the wrong guy. No, you're going to give, okay, all right. And we got it. And it couldn't come at a better time. So, yes.
Mrs. Grant?
Yes. We can ask for donations. The Ford Heights Hope Center, you have any questions, you can dial our phone number, 708-758-4000. In our community, we have several 501c3 organizations, and we're all collaborating together to make this epidemic cease in our community.
Ms. Quinn and Mr. Otis Williams, I want to know what made you guys come into this type of business.
A lot of people strung out on drugs, no place to stay, no food, couldn't get in the hospital, couldn't get in the drug treatment program, and that's where I started.
That's quick.
Oh, I was very interested in health promotion, disease prevention, and wanted to put something in the hands of those who might have sex without protection, put something in their hands that would encourage them to, in fact, use condoms.
Ms. Quinn?
How I started and what made me want to do it, to get inside the holistic approach of community service advocate, to change the morale of the people in our community and to build up their self-esteem with education, awareness, just giving them some hope,
Yeah.
hope, helping other people every day, hope, and that's.
Well, as you guys may or may not know, I started out, I lost someone to HIV back in '83, and ironically, one of my relatives was stabbed with a needle in a hospital with an individual with HIV. And it has affected me personally. As you know, this series has been brought to you by the Healthy Options for Preventing Epidemic Succession. And as you all know, this is an epidemic, as right now it's a pandemic.
Yes.
We have to come together and protect our community people, because eventually it's going to affect you. They say within the next 10 years, everyone will have someone in their family who is HIV positive. That's how drastic it is. The call is out. The sounds are being heard. We must come together and band together as a community to fight this epidemic. It will not discriminate. Eventually, it will get to you if you don't protect yourself. We have to each one teach one, and we must reach one. These young people on this panel are doing a great job. I know you guys don't get paid enough for what you're doing.
We don't get paid.
Hello.
But many are called and few are chosen.
Hello.
So these are the chosen ones. And I thank you guys so much. Last few seconds, you have something you want to say, Ms. Quinn?
Just, if it's not protected, reject it. And don't be scared to be prepared.
Yes.
Ms. Quinn?
Well, I say knowledge, education is going to really help us with this epidemic.
Mr. Williams?
New Beginning cares. If you're out there and you need us, don't hesitate to call us.